Howdy, folks. Live from Big Top, Chautauqua, welcome to another episode of Tent Show Radio. I can't believe another year's gone around. Is that a big top I see there high above the ground? Ballyhoo. Oh, ballyhoo. Funding support for Tent Show Radio is provided by the Bayfield Inn. Stay, dine, and relax year-round on the shoreline of Lake Superior in downtown Bayfield. Any traveler, any season, any meal, your view awaits. More info at bayfieldinn.com. And by the Ashland Area Chamber of Commerce, the historic mural capital of Wisconsin. For a free brochure of self-guided mural tours, find us at visitashland.com. Tent Show Radio is also funded by a grant from the Green Bay Packers Foundation. And here's your host of Tent Show Radio, best-selling author, humorist, and singer-songwriter, Michael Perry.
Howdy, folks, and welcome to Tent Show Radio from Lake Superior, Big Top, Chautauqua. Tonight, we celebrate the rich culture and history of the Anishinaabe people of the Great Lakes region through music and spoken word. And at intermission, I'll share a story about staring into the sky and seeing ski tracks. Folks, the music you're about to hear emanates from a special space in a special place. The Big Top is just that, a grand blue and pearl gray striped canvas beauty suitable for a circus, but in this case, home to a history of live performance centered on the stage. The Big Top seats are set directly on the earth, and what a spot of earth it is. High atop a hill overlooking beautiful Bayfield, Wisconsin, Lake Superior, and those all-natural waterbound wonders, the Apostle Islands. If you enjoy that vision, if you enjoy what you hear over the course of the next hour, and you want to see and experience it firsthand, please get to know us at www.bigtop.org. It sounds beautiful up here because, well, it is beautiful up here. You ought to come on up. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight's new musical theater show, Anishinaabe Dibaajimowin, was created by Michael Charette and Severin Behen. They are joined by musical artists from the Red Cliff, Bad River, Lucid, and Fond du Lac Ojibwe bands, and members of the Blue Canvas Orchestra in a new musical theater show that celebrates the rich culture and history of the Anishinaabe people of the Great Lakes region. Traditional music meets modern music, ancient storytelling meets spoken word and hip-hop, and should you make it up here to see the show in person, on the big screen behind it all, you'll witness original artwork, beautiful photography, and historical images. Imagine yourself beneath the canvas now, as we learn about the beautiful and proud Ojibwe culture through story, song, poetry, and dance. Ladies and gentlemen, the Big Top presents Anishinaabe Dibaajimowin.
Bonjour. In 1992, I started to do shows here at the Big Top with the show called Riding the Wind. And in Riding the Wind, there are two native stories. One is the migration story, and the other one is Winnebago Island creation story. So when I was asked to do this, I told Warren at the time, I said, speaking about spirits in the summertime is kind of taboo in Indian country. But I said, I'll go ask an elder, and if I can get around a way of doing that, I will. But if I can't, I won't be a part of the show. So I went to my cousin, Dolores Bainbridge, who was quite knowledgeable in the native language, native heritage, native customs, and just knowing a whole lot about Indian ways. I told her that I was asked to do this show, and of course I said, Winnebago is mentioned in it. I said, what do I do? Or what shall I do? Well, she said, I'll tell you. Here's what you have to do. Before the show starts, you get some tobacco, you go put it down someplace, and you offer a prayer to the spirits. And you ask them to forgive you for mentioning these names during the summer months, but it's all good for the people. So I followed those instructions, and I've been doing shows up here since '92, and I've been putting tobacco down every time I did the show. No different tonight. Tonight we're going to be talking again about spirits. So I did put my tobacco out, and I offered a prayer to the spirits to look favorably on our participants in the show and also the audience. So you're in for a treat. Sit back, relax, and enjoy this show. Miigwech, thank you.
Who gave to me the breath of life, my frame of flesh? Who gave to us the gifts we do not own, but borrow and pass on?
All stories have a beginning. And in that beginning, there was nothing but Gitchimanadu, the creator. The universe was dark. And when Gitchimanadu would send out a voice, it would return without being heard. Gitchimanadu was lonely. Then, the Creator had a vision. It was a place full of galaxies. Gitchimanadu saw Earth, Akin, and saw all the beings that lived there, the four-legged, the birds, the creatures that crawl, and the creatures that swim. And he heard all the sounds of Earth, of Akin, the crashing of the waves, the rumble of the volcanoes, the thunder and the wind, and all the sounds of the animals, and the beautiful, beautiful voices of the songbirds. Gitchimanadu also felt all the emotions of the creatures on earth: love, hate, jealousy, wonder, contentment, sadness, happiness, fear, and courage. Gitchimanadu understood that this vision must be fulfilled to bring into being what had been seen and what had been felt. First, the creator Gitchimanadu made all the galaxies, the stars, the planets, and the moons of the universe, including Earth, Akin. Gitchimanadu filled the earth with oceans, lakes, and rivers, and land, mountains, plains, forests, and deserts. Gitchimanadu made the plants, vegetables, trees, grasses, and flowers, and put them on the earth where they would be most beautiful and most useful. The Creator made all the animal beings, and for the first time, animals flew, walked, and swam on earth. Last, humankind, the Anishinaabe, who were created in a variety of shapes, colors, languages, ways of living. And to the Anishinaabe, he gave gifts that were not given to the plants or the animals. The first was the ability to dream and to make our dreams come true. And also, every one of us was given a special gift. Everyone was given a small piece of the mystery of the Creator. Last, the Creator made the laws that govern creation. Moon circles the planets. Wind circles the earth. All things that live are born, experience growth, death, and rebirth. This is the great circle of things. Finally, Gitchimanadu's dream had come true.
According to prophecy, when human beings today encroach on the wolf's territory, Moingan, the wolf, retires further and further into the wilderness. And then it was prophesied that maybe someday that Moingan may no longer have a place to retreat if there's no wilderness. If that happens, if Moingan passes out of existence, Anishinaabe, you'll soon follow. You'll die of great loneliness of spirit. And so the fate of Moingan, the fate of Anishinaabe, is related to the fate of Moingan.
Lower down through the clouds to meet his mother, stepping lightly out of love, respect and honor, asked to walk the garden, naming all creation, Anishinaabe Dibaajimowin.
Little brother wolf, they walk the earth. Listen to his song.
The lonely path he traveled, howling at the moon. He saw creation came into brothers, learning creation song. Everything is intertwined and everything belongs. And they are also brothers to us all.
Little brother wolf, they walk the earth. Listen to his song.
Now with the task completed, the naming of all things, they were told from this day forth they must go their separate ways. But they are also brothers to us all. Yeshime Mainga,
Little brother wolf, they walk the earth. Listen to their song.
Aninga kinawia. Ay ay. Aninga kinawia. Aho goda migwayak. Our story continues as we talk about Anishinaabe and Mayingan. They separate. Our story continues with Anishinaabe. They say that a long time ago, our communities, our people, we're some of the most pitiful beings on this earth. We're the last order of creation to come here, to be placed upon this beautiful place, Oma King. And so they say, and in our way of life, that all the other beings took pity upon Anishinaabe. They saw that we didn't have the food that we needed. We had a hard time surviving. And so it was all the other orders of creation that decided to stand up to take care of Anishinaabe, to take care of our original people. And so those sacred agreements, those first treaties that Anishinaabe enters into are with everything in creation. They say the Awesiag, the Benesiag, Gignagogae, Giguyag, all the animals, all the plants, all the birds, fish, all those things, they agree to stand up for Anishinaabe. The Wawashkeshi, the deer, they tell Anishinaabe, when you need us, we will be there for you. We will stand up for your people. Take us for subsistence. Take us for our sustenance. Use our meat. Use our hides. Use our bones. Use everything you need to live a good life. Everything we have right here is for you to use. The Giguyag, the fish, they said the same thing. Anishinaabe, we will swim into your nets. We will swim into your traps. We will take care of you. We will stand up for you. Anishinaabe entered into these first treaties with everything in creation, all orders of creation, with the understanding that this relationship, the foundation of this relationship, was rooted in reciprocity. Anishinaabe knew that all these resources, all of these things that were coming their way to help take care of them, to help give them a good life, were given out of kindness, love, and respect. And so they knew that they needed to share everything that they harvested, that they needed to give back as much as they could, and they needed to remember their teachings and that foundation of reciprocity. So as time goes on, the Anishinaabe encounter other treaties. This time, treaties rooted in greed, extraction, exploitation. These treaties came in different forms. In the 1800s, Anishinaabe entered into many, many treaties with the United States federal government on different types of terms. Most of these treaties are what lawmakers and lobbyists would call land cession treaties, ceded millions and millions of acres of land to the United States federal government in exchange for what we know as usufructory rights. They say that our ancestors, Gete Anishinaabe, signed these treaties knowing what was going on in the United States, knowing that federal Indian policy at the time was forcibly removing communities from their ancestral homelands, knowing that these assimilatory processes and colonization were wiping out communities left and right that have thrived for centuries. And so our ancestors signed these treaties knowing and understanding that they needed to do something to reserve our way of life. And so the Anishinaabe and our relatives signed these treaties to perpetuate a way of life that was going to encounter many, many difficulties. And moving forward, just as the prophecy foretold, our communities encountered intense hardship, assimilatory processes and policies, boarding schools, forced religion, and many other things that were meant to erase our languages, to damage and erode our traditional food systems, and to stifle out the very life way that was given to us by the Creator Himself. But through these treaties, and through that foresight that our ancestors had, our ancestors realized that with love, respect, with kindness, that they could send something, send a small spark into the future that would ignite a flame of resilience. Today, our harvesters, our communities, are still gathering the same traditional foods that they have been for centuries. Today, our children are still speaking our sacred language. Today, our elders and our young people are still working together to try and build a better future for all of our generations to come. And so we ask ourselves, how can we be a better ancestor for the generations to come? Misa ominik manwewe tuyan migwich bizendawiek.
Do you remember the night? The stars, they sang to the earth. The sky turning this red haze, and the lights from the north come out to play. The world is spinning throughout infinite time. When does it slow to show people how to see, how to breathe? Wonder, wonder, the raindrops splash against my lids. Awake to a single space, embrace. And the wind take the leaves on a ride, circles and circles. that meet the moon and the tides. Waves crash against the rocks. A warm spray on a summer's night. My fingers wiggle through wet hair. The sound of the sun rising, making all things grin within. Walked across the land, day is here. Night, fire stars come to life. Stars that warm and burn. Mother, am I safe? Full moons come and go, and with them the lakes that spray. The frozen rain that melts on my face. The lake, frozen in its place. And the wind take the snowflakes on a ride. Circles and circles, circles and circles, circles and circles that meet my frozen exhale. Embrace, my eyes closed till the sun wakes me.
From the top of Wisconsin, you are listening to Tent Show Radio. Tent Show Radio is a production of the nonprofit Lake Superior Big Top Chautauqua, the Carnegie Hall of Tent Shows.
Welcome to Intermission, folks. At dawn on a winter's morning not so long ago, I saw contrails laying parallel across the sky and thought of cross-country ski tracks. My interpretation may have been influenced by the fact that I used my wife's skis to wedge the basement door shut the evening prior in order to keep the cats down there overnight and out of leftovers stored on the porch. When it's winter in Wisconsin, the porch becomes the refrigerator. And, more often than not, the freezer. It's odd to compose and record stories in real time, then leave them to be interpreted out of time. In light of history unfolding at the speed of tweet, there is this sense that every phrase I type, every word I speak into a microphone, will be post-loaded. What if I compose an ode to puppies and lollipops only for the ode to hit print the day after someone stabs a puppy with a lollipop? Or nominates a lollipop to a cabinet position, or the puppy. We could do worse. So I write oblivious to the future present and return to that day, which broke bright but frozen, the sky clear save a few skipping stone clouds, which by the time I hauled the water bucket to the chicken coop were seared red and golden on the underside. The twin contrails cut unnaturally through them on an east-west line, left by big jets beginning the descent to Minneapolis. I saw the thin strips of condensation as both metaphor and intrusion, and thought how the person feeding chickens when our farmhouse was built in the 1880s never encountered such a sight, let alone those who were already here when the first cabin logs were chopped. Then I briefly wondered what percentage of the couple hundred people propelled by the residual exhaust were fleeing the present, as opposed to pursuing the future. Then I stepped on a knob of frozen chicken poop, which, like the princess's proverbial pea, redirected my eyes and attention to the more relevant elements of the day at hand. The chickens were voracious as always, pecking their way through each other to get at the feed. But I spare myself and you this particular metaphorical sidetrack to say that after I got their water topped off, I stopped for a moment on the snow-packed path between the house and the coop to absorb the ongoing sunrise. For a moment the world was aligned. The sun burned bleeding through distant stripped poplars to rise over the spine of the back 40, the ridge inscribed with ski tracks cut by my wife during yesterday's foray, the matched white ribbons a grounded mirror image to the airliner residue fading above. It being near the end of the year, I began to float off into the idea of time and symmetry and the human desire for a clear path through confusion, and then, startled by the crow of a particularly nasty rooster, I simply settled for the idea of returning to the work at hand and putting those skis back before someone tripped over them. We return now to the big top stage, to history and poetry, story and song, to Anishinaabe Dibaajimowin.
Aha, Boozhoo, Indonaway, Magani Duk. Welcome to the second half of Anishinaabe.
To know peace is to know love.
Respect.
To be mindful of the balance and the needs of others.
Honesty.
If you are honest with yourself, you'll be able to be honest with others.
Humility.
To be equal and not worse than another.
Courage.
To do what is right even in the face of fear.
Wisdom.
Using the gifts for the greater good.
Truth.
To know all these things. Truth.
Wajuni Anishinaabe Dug. Awashime Bejig Dibaajimowin Gigawin the moon in anim. I'd like to tell you all one more story. You see, it is often mistakenly taught that without early colonization, Native Americans would still be living in teepees and fighting with each other, killing each other, merciless, savage Indians. The word Native American is a broad term for a large group of people. We all have different names for our dwellings. Lakota people lived in teepees. Us Ojibwe, we lived in wigwams. And like our dwellings, we have different languages, different songs, different prayers. So yes, we're going to fight sometimes. But we also found ways to make peace. And that's the story I'm going to tell you today, the story of how the big drum came to the Anishinaabe. Meweja, the Lakota and the Ojibwe, they were very untrusting of one another, often fighting along each other's borders for foods and hunting grounds. They also fought with the American cavalry in battles against lands and resources. And in one battle with the Lakota and the American soldiers, a young woman, Eagletail woman, having seen her village under attack, ran to the water to seek refuge, and she laid down in a bed of reeds in the river. She broke one of those reeds and placed it in her mouth like a straw to breathe through. And she laid in that river for 4 days. During that time, she received a vision from the Creator. A drum was lowered from the sky and placed on the back of 4 horses. And it faced the east. So, as she laid there, receiving the instructions on this ceremony and this drum, she was told to bring this drum to her enemy, to ask for peace, because they were going to need each other. They were going to need to help one another to survive. When Eagletail woman came out of the river and returned to her village, she told the elders about her vision. And they told her to take that drum to the Ojibwe, because they came from the east. And that's where that drum on those horses was facing. Eagletail woman, she learned the ceremony, she made the drum, and she took with her Lakota warriors to find the Anishinaabe, the Ojibwe people, who at the time were in a battle with the Lakota people in a place known today as Mille Lacs, Minnesota, Mississauga, Iganing. The Ojibwe, when they seen those Lakota warriors coming from over the hill, they thought surely they would die. But then Eagletail woman came forward with this drum, and she told them of the vision that she had and asked that they accept this drum and this ceremony in peace. And the Ojibwe accepted. They also taught the Lakota a ceremony, and a trade was made, and peace was made. And for the first time, their hearts beat as one to the sound of this drum. For the first time, they breathed the same breath. They smoked the same pipe. It is taught that women are spiritually stronger than the men. And that is why the drum came to the men, so that they can gain spiritual strength as well and sing for peace. When the men sit at the drum, the women surround them to protect them. This ceremony takes place still today. And when this drum is played, it's played for peace for all nations, because the heartbeat of Mother Earth is in this drum. And we all get our strength and our identity from that heartbeat. And all of creation dances to this beat.
Aha, buju and donoe magani dog. It's my honor and privilege now to introduce our hereditary chief of the Red Cliff Band of Lake Superior, Ojibwe, Mr. Robert Buffalo. Aho, chimigwich.
Oh, Chimagwich for that kind introduction, Laughing Fox. Bonjour, everyone.
Bonjour.
As you've seen by tonight, we tell stories. We tell many stories. This is another story. It's called Mikwayan do Wizaga. They are remembered, the Sandy Lake tragedy. It's 1850. On the desk of President Zachary Taylor is the removal order forcing all the Anishinaabe people in Wisconsin to move east or move west of the Mississippi. While the Wisconsin legislature was a little bit hesitant and wasn't really wanting to do this. So 4 government officials hatched a plan to move the Anishinaabe people. 2 of them left office, 2 of them stayed to enact that plan. A Bureau of Indian Affairs sub-agent from Wisconsin named John Watrous, and the territorial governor of Minnesota, Alexander Ramsey. Their plan: bring all the Anishinaabe up to Sandy Lake for their annual annuities payment. Annuities were the government's payback for the concessions that you've heard earlier from Dylan on the treaties that were written earlier. In lieu of that, concessions were paid. These were cash, goods like flour and seeds, supplies like hatchets and blankets. Normally, every year, they were dispersed on Manawanakwane Minis, Madeline Island. The village of Little Point was the cultural and economic center for the Anishinaabe people. So that summer, they moved the annuity site to Sandy Lake. So the Anishinaabe people, about 3,000 of them, made their journey up there to Sandy Lake, which is approximately 30 miles west of Duluth. Their plan was not to give them their annuities in the fall, keep them there till winter, thinking that they would stay there, and then come springtime, it'd be easier for make the rest of the Anishinaabe people. Well, winter came. The Anishinaabe people were not prepared. They figured they'd get their annuities in the fall and head right back home. So they didn't plan for any cold weather. They didn't have many blankets. They didn't have heavier clothes and not enough provisions, food. So in the middle of the winter, the federal government started dispersing the annuities. They gave them very little cash, hardly any supplies, and the food had already been rotten. It was said that the flour looked like clay and was green. While they were waiting for that annuity, about 150, 200 of our ancestors passed away from disease, freezing, and they decided to start their journey back home. Dead of winter. Lakes were already frozen, so they could not use their canoes. So they started walking. This is not what those 2 federal agents had planned, the resilience of the Anishinaabe people. They made their way back home. Another 200 or so passed on. All told, over 430 Anishinaabe Anishinaabe ancestors had passed away. When they got home and told the story to their communities, young warriors, Wogitchadai, started banging the drums of war. Now, the Anishinaabe people had never went to war with the federal government. So the elder chiefs gathered together they selected one chief, Ogama Bijike, who had been a signatory to many treaties prior, to be their lead speaker. So he spoke to everybody, told them, give us one chance. Let's go to Washington, D.C. and see what we can do. We'll give them the ultimatum, war or peace. The spring of 52, Chief Ogama Bijike, Chief Buffalo, got in a canoe along with 6 other tribal members and other chiefs and an interpreter named Benjamin Armstrong. He started from the shores of Lake Superior by Madeline in a 24-foot canoe. And they paddled their way all the way to Sault Ste. Marie. That's about over 400 miles. Oh, and by the way, when Ogama Bijike started that journey, he was 90 years old. Well, they got stopped at Sault Ste. Marie by federal agents. And because this is show business, I was told that due to time restrictions, we move ahead in the story, which usually takes me to 15 minutes to get to where I'm going now. So there we are, on the steps of the White House. Once again, the delegation party was denied access. But they had one thing going for them. What happened at Sandy Lake made the papers. And the papers started publishing what happened, the tragedy. And it finally made it to the East Coast. By that time, the president was Millard Fillmore. One of his best friends was a congressman who had read and had sympathy for Chief Buffalo and his delegation. He was able to get an audience with the president. They negotiated for like 2 days, and then Chief Buffalo pulled out a special ceremonial pipe. They smoked the pipe, and the agreement was reached. Chief Buffalo then broke the stem. There are 3 parts to a pipe. The nipple, or the stem, the nipple, and the pipe. Chief Buffalo broke the nipple, gave it the rest of the pipe to Benjamin Armstrong, and told him, keep this forever. So he made it back home, and then a couple years later, the federal government kept their promise and came to Madeline Island and signed the 1854 treaty. The important thing of that treaty was it made all the reservations that are now in Michigan, Wisconsin, and eastern Minnesota permanent sites for their homeland, and that was what they wanted to do. We don't let these stories sit and then just go away. We take reverence to these. In 2000, the Anishinaabe people, with a little help from the Army Corps of Engineers, built a memorial on Sandy Lake. We go there once a year to pay homage and respect to our ancestors, and we started out with a ceremonial canoe race of about 6 miles, a great feast, and then a talking circle in the afternoon to bring our children and to show them what our ancestors had done for us. Chief Buffalo's legacy also stays on. In 2011, that ceremonial pipe that was in the family of Benjamin Armstrong was passed down through generation, and one of the brothers decided it's time for Redcliffe to have the pipe. So we had a 2-day ceremony where they returned the pipe to its people. We are now in possession of the great poignant, the great pipe of Chief Buffalo. We selected a pipe carrier, and we bring that along for ceremonies. Also, there is a project going on up in Duluth right now, accumulating in a mural project that will be erected, and the main feature of that mural project in the park will be a wall dedicated to Chief Buffalo and his legacy. Also, we are going to attempt to recreate Chief Buffalo's journey from Madeline Island to Sault Ste. Marie. I got to get my paddle arms ready. I will make the trip and I will be done. So it just shows that the Anishinaabe people, we can endure tragedy. We can be resilient in our world. And we move forward in our world to acknowledge all the stuff that our forefathers and ancestors had given to us. With that, I say miigwech, thank you, and enjoy the rest of the show.
Our children are sacred. Recent news revealing thousands of unmarked child graves at only a few of the over 500 Indian boarding schools is shocking for those who have never heard it before. Although Anishinaabe people have survived these atrocities, we are still working through the trauma. As news spreads beyond Indian country, we must all work together to do healing work together, because all children are sacred.
Bonjour, Kevin indigenous, Weeklyang, Gaya, Mesqual, Kevin and I live just up the road in Red Cliff, Wisconsin. I want to dedicate this song to all our children who were taken from us and all the families affected. Say your name, show your face, leave no trace of your shame. Tears come falling 500 years. Prayers of our children, late at night, down the hall, monsters scream, Roman call. Don't tell no one, forget their name. Prayers of our children, say their names, show their faces, leave no traces of the game. Don't tell no one. 500 years. Prayers of our children, prayers of our children, take these tears.
Anishinaabe Dibaajimowin, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all.
Tent Show Radio is a production of the nonprofit Lake Superior Big Top Chautauqua. Funding support for Tent Show Radio is provided by the Bayfield Inn. With 21 hotel rooms, over 25 vacation rentals, a lounge, on-site restaurant, and rooftop bar, there's something for you at the Bayfield Inn. More info at bayfieldinn.com. And by the Bayfield Chamber of Commerce, beautiful Bayfield and the Apostle Islands. You can tour sea caves and shop our galleries and stores on the shores of Lake Superior. Info and lodging at bayfield.org. And by the Cable Chamber of Commerce, Cable, Wisconsin, the gateway to Bayfield County, where world-class trails, forests, lakes, and adventure await. Visit cableforfun.com. That's cable, the number 4, FUN.com. Tent Show Radio is produced by Matt Eugenheimer, Michael Perry, and yours truly, Philip Anich. Time flies like an arrow, but fruit flies like a banana.
Well, folks, that's our show for tonight. Whether you beam it or stream it, we thank you for listening. We're as grateful as a guy who's been allowed to see the early morning sky. We'd love it if you come on up Bayfield Way or down or over or through for a live show one day. Details always available at bigtop.org. You can visit me anytime at sneezingcow.com. Until next we share the air, remember, where I come from and here at Tent Show Radio, nobody ever says goodbye. They just say, well, I suppose.